I was always a bit of a lone wolf, a Ronin wandering without a master. My home life was less than ideal. My parents partied a little too much, to put it lightly. My father was a custodian, and my mother cut hair. Money was always tight, so I got used to fending for myself. I was good at making friends, a good student, and a hard worker. I learned how to find work and provide for myself at a young age, out of necessity. When I was 21, my father lost his battle with depression and drug abuse and took his own life. I was rocked by it, but I carried on like I always did. I put my head down, finished school, and went to work as a teacher. It wasn't until years later that I really felt the impact that my father's untimely death had on me. In 2015, a game called The Witcher 3 was released. I really related to the main character of The Witcher, Geralt of Rivia. As a Witcher, Geralt is almost a Ronin himself, wandering from village to village, vanquishing evil monsters. During my journey as Geralt, I met a man with a brutal reputation called the Bloody Baron. The Bloody Baron tasked me with tracking down his wife and daughter who had recently gone missing. To begin tracking down the Baron's family, I began by investigating the rooms of the Baron's wife and daughter. Immediately, something seemed amiss. After some more investigating, I returned to confront the Bloody Baron and ask him the truth. Apparently, in a drunken haze, he beat his wife to such a point that he caused her to miscarry, ultimately causing his wife and daughter to leave him. At this point, I almost wanted to abandon the quest. Why should I help him? Well, as the story unfolded, the Baron showed me his genuine remorse for what happened, so I continued in order to find out for myself whether or not he was worthy of forgiveness and reunite his family. Now, it's important to note that one thing that makes this game so amazing is that there are multiple outcomes to these quests based on the actions you take to solve them, a true role-playing game. So when I freed the Baron's wife from a witch's spell, I thought everything would end happily. But the Baron's wife was never quite the same after being under the spell of the witch, and she remained a shadow of her former self. And the Baron's daughter, disgusted by everything, rejects his attempt to reconcile his misdeeds. When I returned to the Baron's castle, I found him hanging from a tree. He took his own life out of grief. I felt the same shock as I did 6 years before when I received the news about my dad. I completed the quest, but it still felt like failure. It became my obsession. I reloaded the game, tried to do it right. Every time I tried, I got the same result. I started asking myself whether or not this man even deserves forgiveness. This moment in the game caused me to stop and reflect on my relationship with my father and family for the first time since he passed away. I grew up witnessing families, not just my own, broken by drug abuse and poverty, while at the same time being completely in love with their families. It's really confusing. I found that I was trying so desperately to find redemption for the Bloody Baron because I was also working through finding redemption for my father and forgiving him. I still struggle with that, but I feel like that's part of life. That's part of the journey, part of being a lone wolf, a witcher. Stories don't always end happily, but we move forward nevertheless.